Well, the 2014 NFL season just rolls along. Can you believe we've already reached Week 7? Before you know it, we'll be talking playoffs. First things first, though, a lot of football left to be played, a lot of questions left to be answered starting this week. Several good games on the slate here in this Week 7. I'd like to touch on a few of them now quickly. Of course, we preview all these games in great detail here at BETDAQ Tips, so do hope you check back with us over the next couple of days. And I'd like to remind you that this month, multiples, parlays in my world, no commission on BETDAQ. So see a couple of games you like here, you want to parlay them, that is a good idea. BETDAQ, the best place to do so. Again, zero commission, no commission on multiples this month at BETDAQ. Let's talk about a few of these games quickly now, shall we? Starting with the Cincinnati Bengals going on the road to face the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts just a 3-point favorite on BETDAQ. For my money, this game qualifies as suspicious. Seems like the Colts should be a favorite of 4.5 or 5 to me, doesn't it? I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals just haven't been playing well the past couple of weeks. A 37-37 tie with Carolina last week. The week before, of course, they were blown out by the New England Patriots. And the Colts have been playing very well, especially at home. Indianapolis, one of the best home teams in the NFL, 17-5 against the spread in their last 22 home games. And their quarterback, Andrew Luck, might be the best quarterback in the entire NFL right now. So again, I expected this line to be more like Indianapolis minus 4.5. But it is Indianapolis minus 3. That scares me a bit. It might not make any sense to you, but I'd almost feel more comfortable backing the Colts if they were a 4.5-point favorite. This type of thing makes me think that somebody out there knows something that I don't know, which makes me take a long, hard look at this game and think, what is that? What am I missing here? Cincinnati has been playing very well on offense this season, but their best player on offense, A.J. Green, banged up, might miss this game again. He missed last week's game with Carolina. And the Cincinnati defense has been very disappointing these last 2 weeks. Over the first 3 weeks of the season, it looked like the Bengals might have the best defense in the entire NFL, but they have really fallen off on that side of the ball. Indianapolis, though, very one-dimensional offensively. We mentioned Andrew Luck might be the best quarterback in the entire NFL, but the Colts do struggle to run the ball. So maybe this will be the week where that Cincinnati defense bounces back and plays well. If you think that's going to happen, you might look at the under here because a big total of 50 in this game. Again, at first glance, I lean towards Indianapolis here. Only a 3-point favorite, but my lean is so strong that it might scare me off, if that makes any sense. Line strikes me as a little suspicious. Another game I'd like to talk about, another line that definitely qualifies as suspicious in my book, the Chicago Bears hosting the Miami Dolphins. Chicago only a 3.5-point favorite. Now, the Dolphins have only won 2 games this season. I know they gave Green Bay a good game last week, but that game was down in Miami. The Chicago Bears, I've been underestimating the Bears. Underestimated them last week when they went into Atlanta and beat the Falcons. They've been playing much better on defense than they did last season. You've got to give their coordinator, Mel Tucker, some credit for that. And offensively, the Bears have weapons. There's no doubt about it. Maybe the best receiving core in the entire NFL in Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall. In Matt Forte, they have a Pro Bowl running back. And Jay Cutler, very inconsistent, very unreliable, but he's been good more than he's been bad this season. So it just seems like this number should be bigger, doesn't it? I mean, I thought Chicago would be about a 5.5 or 6-point favorite in this spot. But again, just 3.5 at BETDAQ, and this number even lower, 3, some places out in Las Vegas, would scare me if I was a Bears bettor for sure. Definitely feels like a situation where you're being baited into betting on the Chicago Bears. And indeed, nearly 80% of the public money out in Las Vegas has come in on the Bears. However, the Bears not the biggest public side of the week. Let's talk about the 2 biggest public sides of the week. Now, if you're anything like me, when the public is all on one side, that really, really scares you and sends you looking at the other side. Of course, you need more than that to bet on the other side. You don't just want to say, well, the public's all on one side, so I'm going to bet on the other. If that worked out all the time, it would be easy to be a winning sports bettor. That's not the case, but certainly casinos, sports books didn't build themselves. The guy on the bar stool sitting next to you, his favorite game of the week probably shouldn't be your favorite game of the week, just generally speaking. So it's always good to identify popular public plays. Oftentimes, it seems like they don't seem to work out. Well, there's 2 that stand out above the rest this week. One of them, the Seattle Seahawks going on the road to face the St. Louis Rams. The Seahawks a 7-point favorite on BETDAQ. Nearly 85% of the public money out in Las Vegas coming in on Seattle. Seahawks obviously the defending Super Bowl champions. Even though they lost last week and they've lost a couple of times this season, a lot of people still firmly on that Seattle bandwagon. And really, it's tough to find much to like about the St. Louis Rams right now. I went a little bit outside the box, thought the Rams might upset the 49ers this past Monday night. I thought that line was a little suspicious. San Francisco only a 3-point favorite there. And the Rams did jump out to a 14-0 lead, but better team won in the end. Niners came back, won, and covered. You look at this Rams team, young Austin Davis at quarterback, not surrounded by much in terms of skill position talent. And the defense, that's what's been really disappointing in St. Louis this season. Jeff Fisher, a defensive guy, I was one of many who thought that he'd be able to come into St. Louis and in pretty short order turn this Rams defense into one of the better units in the NFL. That has just not happened. The Rams in the bottom half of the NFL in just about every major defensive statistic this year. And the Seahawks, even though they haven't been playing as well on offense the past couple of weeks, this is a balanced offense. With Marshawn Lynch, they do have one of the best running games in the league. Russell Wilson, of course, has emerged as one of the NFL's 6 or 8 best quarterbacks. And even though they haven't been getting Percy Harvin as involved these last few weeks, he is still a dynamic, dangerous weapon. So the Seahawks definitely have more on both sides of the ball than the Rams. You would think that they would be agitated and ready to get back and ready to start playing well again after losing a home game last week to Dallas. So again, it's no surprise the Seahawks, a very popular public bet this week, is a 7-point favorite. The most popular public bet of the week, as a matter of fact, which, if you're anything like me, would really scare you off the Seattle side. There's no way I am touching the Seahawks side this week, simply because nearly 85% of the public is on that side, and that's enough to scare me off. Now, another game that the public is all over, this one surprises me a little bit, though. The Monday night matchup, Houston Texans going on the road to face the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh, a 3.5-point favorite on BETDAQ, and the public all over the Texans in this game. The visiting Texans, a 3.5-point dog. 83% of the public money out in Las Vegas right now coming in on the Texans. You know, it doesn't surprise me that people are looking to fade Pittsburgh right now. The Steelers have not been good over the past couple of weeks, and they have the look of a team that is regressing, especially on the defensive side of the ball. That Steelers defense is not very good right now. But Houston just doesn't have very much on offense. And the Texans are a team that I've sort of been rooting for this season. I picked them to go 9-7 in the handicappers guide that I do prior to the season. And of course, considering they finished 2-14 last year, I thought picking them to finish 9-7 was pretty bold. So I've been rooting for the Texans to do well just so I didn't look bad. But I've seen a couple of Texans games this season, and I have to say, I overestimated a little bit what they had on offense, mainly because I overestimated their quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I've been a Fitzpatrick believer over the last couple of years, a little bit more than most people, I think. Cost me some money when he replaced Jake Locker when Locker went down in Tennessee. I thought the Titans' offense would improve with Fitzpatrick under center, and that really wasn't the case. And again, the Texans, they just seem limited on that side of the ball. They seem like a team, if they had a really good quarterback, they could have a really effective offense, because got a couple of good wide receivers in Andre Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, Arian Foster showing that he still has some in the tank at running back. But Fitzpatrick does hold that team back, I believe. And I don't know if I feel as good about Houston on the road in Pittsburgh as a 3.5-point dog as everybody else seems to. Again, the Texans, a tremendously popular public bet. Again, I think that's one that I might stay away from, or maybe even look at the other side. Because Pittsburgh, even though they have been having problems on the defensive side of the ball, they're top 10 in total offense. They've been able to move the football this season. Houston has had problems in the secondary, so I want to keep an eye on that. Again, you got plenty of time to think about it. That one not taking place until Monday night. Again, the Texans, a very popular public bet. Let's talk about a couple of them now quickly that are just interesting. Not necessarily suspicious lines or popular public bets, but games that I'm just interested in this weekend, mainly because I'm really not sure what's going to happen. Starting with the New Orleans Saints going to Detroit to face the Lions. The Lions only a 2.5-point favorite here, even though the Saints have been reeling this season. That just goes to show you, some faith in the New Orleans Saints remains. And listen, this is almost a last stand type of game for the New Orleans Saints. Losing record right now, coming off a bye, going on the road, face a good winning team, and the Saints might be without one of their best offensive players in tight end Jimmy Graham. Now, things will even out then because Detroit will most likely be without their best offensive player, wide receiver Calvin Johnson. Johnson listed as doubtful for this game. He's been battling that gimpy ankle now for several weeks. So both offenses might be without their best pass-catching options. This game is on the road for the Saints where they have struggled, but it is inside on a fast track. This offense is worse. They average fewer yards per game, fewer points per game when they play outside on grass. But inside on that fast track, the Saints still one of the best offenses in the NFL. Really, statistically, the Saints, there's nothing wrong with this offense. Top 5 in the NFL in both total offense and pass yards per game. Detroit's been very good on defense this season, though. So, again, I don't really know what to expect in this game as of now. I'm, still early in the week. Sometimes things don't come to me until Friday or Saturday. I often don't make my final decisions until late in the week. But again, this is a last stand type of situation for the New Orleans Saints here, I believe. The Lions historically have been very unreliable. They've been a little bit better in that regard this season under Jim Caldwell. So we'll see what happens when they host the Saints on Sunday. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that game. Another game that I'll be watching, another unreliable team that has been better this season. I'm talking, of course, about the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas, a 7-point home favorite over the New York Giants this week. 47.5 is that total on BETDAQ. Now, the Giants had won 3 straight until last week when they lost 27-0 to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Giants right now might be the single most inconsistent team in the entire NFL. Last week they lost their best receiver, Victor Cruz. He will miss the rest of the season. So the Giants now going on the road without Victor Cruz, having just been shut out last week. Tough to have much faith in them, isn't it? Facing this Dallas Cowboy team that has been so good this season. But 7, a lot of points. Eli Manning has traditionally played very well against this Dallas defense. And Dallas, even though they've been better on defense this season, a lot of people thought they were going to be, they are still vulnerable on that side of the ball. Dallas has run the ball very, very well this season. The Giants know that. I expect them to load up against the run, force Tony Romo to beat them in this game. I don't know. Again, tough to trust the Giants after what we saw to them last week. But as bettors, we're always looking for buy low, sell high opportunities. And this game, with the Giants getting a whopping 7 points, this could be the definition of a buy low, sell high opportunity. Certainly, you'll never be able to sell the Dallas Cowboys any higher than right now after they just beat the Seattle Seahawks on the road. And as we said, could be a good buy low time for the New York Giants. But sometimes that buy low stuff doesn't always work out. Take the Jacksonville Jaguars, for example. They're on about a 30-game stretch of them being a good buy low opportunity, and they're only 7-20 against the spread in their last 27 games. They face Cleveland this week. They're a 5.5-point home underdog. Last game I'd like to mention here, again, we preview all these games in detail on BETDAQ Tips, so do check back with us for more detailed information on these games. But right now I'd like to quickly talk about the Sunday night game. The San Francisco 49ers going on the road to face the Denver Broncos. Maybe the best game of the entire weekend. Denver a 6.5-point favorite on BETDAQ. The Broncos have not been quite themselves on offense this season. At least they weren't what they were last season. But of course, no team in NFL history has been what the Broncos offense was last season. So maybe we're judging them a little too harshly. Still, Denver a losing record against the spread. Haven't quite lived up to expectations. The Niners starting to get better, I believe. There was a time a couple of weeks ago where some people were starting to question whether now's the time, whether this season the San Francisco 49ers have finally fallen off a bit and maybe would even miss the playoffs. For a lot of talk about Jim Harbaugh's future there as a head coach in San Francisco, supposedly a divided locker room there. But the Niners just keep on plugging along, winning games. Last week they went on the road, beat the St. Louis Rams in a game that a lot of people, myself included, thought might be a trap game situation. Getting a generous 6.5 points this week on the road in Denver. Worth noting, though, the Broncos have been very good against the run this season. They've actually allowed fewer rushing yards than any team in the NFL, and San Francisco still a run-first offense. So if the Broncos are able to limit this San Francisco rushing attack, they might be able to open it up and win this game by more than 6.5. Again, plenty of time to make final decisions here. That game not until Sunday night, maybe Monday morning for you, depending on where you are in the world. Like I said, we'll preview all these games in detail here on BETDAQ Tips, so we hope you check back with us over the next couple of days. Until then, for BETDAQ NFL, I'm John Arnette.